And welcome everybody to Overtime here on YouTube. Let's make sure that we all made it. It's Manuel here, Kyle over there.
Yo.
We have Skype land. We've got Rob T. Firefly, Gila, and Alex all say hello together.
Hello.
Together.
All right.
And stuff.
That saves time.
Bye.
And maybe confirm that we are actually, in fact, broadcasting to YouTube and not into a black hole.
We are.
Okay, good.
We are broadcasting to YouTube, not to a black hole. I realize that we did that thing of when somebody asks you a question with two options and you just say yes, but we are in fact broadcasting to YouTube. We have a smaller than usual, but nonetheless hearty band with us this evening. Welcome to all 14 of you. Thank you for being here this evening.
You know, it's a double holiday, Gila. It's Christmas and Hanukkah. I imagine some people might not have time for overtime on a day like that.
I get that.
And Kwanzaa's about to begin, you know, all kinds of festivities. We've got New Year's Eve just around the corner. And you know what? Maybe people just forgot, too, because we weren't on last week on overtime. And we took phone calls on the air, so maybe people are miffed that we did that.
802-321-4225.
Oh, yeah, that's our phone number. So please give us a call, and let's get started right away, because, we've got things to do as well, I think.
Absolutely.
Well, also, I think it's that people are just so unused to the usual schedule occurring on Christmas Day as well that I think your ordinary schedule becomes extraordinary on Christmas in many ways, I guess. And I think people are just then operating under the assumption that overtime probably would not be on.
Well, there is an exception to that because we have a caller. So let's take our first call. Good evening. You're on Off the Hook Overtime. Go ahead.
Hi. I wanted to call about the programmed learning. When I was a kid, at one point I was given a printed out booklet, sheets of paper with modules of a mathematical course, and the module tells you about this idea, and then it asks you questions about the ideas. It gives you problems, and you select the correct answer to problems and so forth. And I breezed through that year's course in a few days. So I think that can work. And I didn't have to be bored in class, and I didn't have to be subjected to bullying. So that worked for me.
Yes, you're actually standing up in favor of AI teaching our kids?
I'm in favor of programmed learning, that it adjusts to each person, because, if you make a mistake, it goes back, and you relearn what they didn't get. As I said, this was it didn't even have a computer involved. It was all sheets of paper.
But you were in a classroom, were you not?
No. I took it home with me and did it at home at my leisure.
Okay, but you still went to school, right?
I was going to school, yeah.
Okay, this replaces school for that charter school in Arkansas. And that's, I think, what people have an issue with, is that we're literally replacing teachers with AI and expecting kids to somehow learn with 2 hours a day of instruction.
I could have breezed through all of high school in 2 hours a day in a few months.
Yeah, but
the bullying.
It wouldn't have been. Oh, no, the bullying is one thing. That's a separate issue, and I understand that. But
and the boredom.
There's that too. But I just don't think 2 hours, is the high school experience. Kyle, you have something to say? Go ahead.
I just want to ask the caller if they think this should be instituted across the board, or if it should be available as a tool in maybe a customized option for particular students that want to take advantage of it. Because that's, I think, the other aspect of this is the entirety of the curriculum is this for all students, Whereas, and you're saying it could be tailored, sure, but they don't have any other option but for whatever tailoring they get. It may have worked for you and for other students in some instances, maybe for certain periods of time or in throughout the course of their education, but for like their first experience in becoming, familiar with how they learn and the learning process, is this something? So anyway, I'll let you answer.
Well, as I said, it's tailorable to individual students, and I'm thinking probably the kids who do that. Actually, I believe that I'm not sure that this is correct present day information, but don't kids who are actors get tutoring a couple hours a day?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of different kinds of remote learning and like tutoring and other programs and curriculum.
That's not remote learning.
But those students
all
are
the
choosing
kids.
that because of their distance
Yeah,
perhaps
you
from a
spent 2
school
hours-
or
Hang on, Gila.
You have-
Gila, you have something? Go ahead.
I mean, that's all
you have
true,
two-
but they're real teachers. They're actual real teachers that they're learning from. And I think there were actual real teachers, real human teachers, who were running your remote booklet program when you were a kid, right?
A teacher handed it to me, sure.
A teacher came up with the idea. A teacher was monitoring your process and your progress, right?
No, I took it home and I breezed through it in a few days. I came back and said, I finished it. They
Ooh.
gave
And
me
then
a
a
test.
teacher gave you something else. I think our greater concern here is turning the process over to an untrained large language model that does not have the knowledge or experience to be a teacher.
And likely never will.
Right.
Okay, well, I don't think the booklet had any experience being a teacher either. The modules were carefully written, though.
But this wasn't your only school experience. You went back to school. You
It
know.
was the most pleasant one.
Well, there are a number of reasons for that, and that's because, you weren't with the best people in the world, and I understand and respect that. But, this is how we become part of society. We figure out ways to deal with the good and the bad. And, I just feel that one by one, we're taking every instance where we have interaction with other people and turning it into something that we do in the confines of our own rooms or houses. And we have less and less personal contact. And we might tell ourselves that we're better off for that. But I really think that's something that we're going to regret, because human interaction is the most important lesson of all. And what you get by going to a school every day and, having friends and developing, relationships and things like that, it's not always smooth sailing. In fact, it rarely is. But I think it's an essential part of learning.
Well, my question is, what friends? I prefer being at home, and I ask you, if kids are learning at home those 2 hours a day, their parents can also teach them things in addition. And I bet you no girls get pregnant that way.
Well, there wasn't much girls getting pregnant while school was in session, I don't think, when I went to school. But there are so many issues to unpack here. I mean, the whole homeschooling thing, that's a whole other topic as well. I don't recall kids being homeschooled to the extent that they are now, only a decade or two ago. And it makes me worry. It makes me wonder, what qualifies a parent, any parent, to replace a teacher? You're going to get all kinds of biases and wrong information from many, and you're not going to be exposed to other thoughts that might challenge the way that you live or the way that you think. And that is what school should be all about. Kyle?
Well, another thing I think is that the individual instructors in those situations aren't held to the same scrutiny that, oddly and ironically, a lot of their critics love doing to public school and other teachers who are in those professional positions. They love being able to go and hold them up to scrutiny and tell them how badly they're doing their job. Guess what you can't do really en masse with individual instructors at that level. So it's I again ask is, and I think the question stands, is this adequate replacement for all other forms of traditional teaching?
Yeah, and I have so many bad memories from school, but I also have a lot of good memories from school. And I also know I would not have developed the way I did sitting at home, interacting with AI or any kind of a non-human form of instruction, or even with someone who was not a trained teacher or just, isolated from people in my age group. It's not always pleasant, but I do think that it is essential for our development.
Well, I read when I was a kid that children get half of their education at school and half from their family. So you send a kid off to boarding school, they don't get that other half from their family. But you don't have to be homeschooled to be learning from your parents. I mean, it's quite traditional for parents to have their children with them, and the children pick up whatever the parents are doing.
Right, in
You can
theory.
teach your children without being a trained teacher and without lesson plans.
When you say traditional, you're going back, a couple of centuries here.
Yeah, I mean,
that's how things worked.
In
Yes.
theory, this is speaking from an incredible place of privilege. I mean, come on. What is that realistically the experience of average parents? They have the capacity to dedicate that kind of time to replace the entirety of the education system. I think that's foolish, and I think a little confused, because that's not everyone's experience.
Are you there?
I'm here.
All right.
If the modules were carefully constructed, they didn't replace the parent. I mean, the parents didn't replace the modules, but parents and family are always naturally teaching kids if they're around. They're displaying things like, how does a married couple get along? They're teaching. They're not
in my house.
doing homeschooling, but they're certainly teaching.
Well, there's lessons to be
I mean,
learned
my
all over.
family I had two loving parents, both of which were happy to give in to the other whenever they disagreed.
Right, but
Other
Eleanor,
kids had different experiences.
not all families are well equipped to do give the identical level that you had, and that sounds like a blessing. And anyway, I think I take your point, and it is probably that some of these tools are quite useful, but I think we're agreeing that it's not the whole of your experience growing up.
All right. Any other? Rob, you have something to say? Go ahead.
Yeah, just the state of AI today is demonstrably not good when it comes to anything requiring insight. AI can regurgitate, certain things that have been fed into it with varying degrees of success. Sometimes it's very, very bad. It's the AI that is telling you to put glue in a pizza recipe. It's the AI that is generating photos of people with mismatched ears and 13 fingers. And that is the AI they're talking about giving control of teaching children. And so we need to really question whether the tool is suited to the task. And I think in this case, the answer is clear.
All right. Thanks for your call.
Okay. The answer may be clear about AI, but I'm not convinced that the schools that we have these days, or have had these days, are suited to the task either.
Well, probably
On that
because
we
they
quite
don't
agree.
they don't get enough funding, and that's probably related to programs like this taking away their funding. But thanks for the call. It was an interesting conversation. Gave us a lot to think about. You know, Rob, I think I had a teacher that put glue in pizza recipes because, well, you know, when you deal with kids all day long and they can be brutal, believe me. You know, not just to themselves but to teachers as well. Yeah, you get a little dark sometimes, but you know, that's all part of the process. When you think back on your school experience, think back about, you know, things that happened in school. How many times is it the lesson? It's not really the lesson so much. You do learn, but it's the interactions. It's the fun things you do with other people or with teachers, or even the negative things. And you know, I don't like negative things. Nobody does. But negative things are essential for learning. And sometimes we have unpleasant experiences and we learn from them and we figure out how to avoid them and how not to bring them to other people. You know, there's all kinds of nuances in an environment like that. And I worry, you know, if we're replacing it with AI or if we're saying everybody can get an education at home, you can't get the same kind of education at home that you do by going someplace else and interacting with a whole bunch of other people who you may never have even met otherwise. You know, it's great to hang out with your parents all the time, but I just think you're going to open your mind up to more. And I know that scares some parents. They don't want their kids to have their minds open to things that might question what they say. But how else do you develop in any way? You know, how else do you grow? You have to expose yourself to that. Gila?
So there was a unit that we did when I was in 8th grade in English class. And we had a team system in my middle school where there were multiple teams in each grade and every, you know, group of teachers, we all work together, whatever. And we had a business letter writing unit in 8th grade. And every one of us had to come up with a business name with a letterhead, and we all had to write each other letters. And these were business letters, so we had to have titles. You know, it was like, Dear Mr. Goldstein. And we did within our team, within the other teams in our grade, within, and then we started working with other schools. And someone had to write to me and had never heard of my name and did not know what my courtesy title should be. And this actually terrified, like, the whole class. This whole group of 8th graders were trying to figure out what my courtesy title should be because they'd never heard my name before.
Huh.
I love that story. I love the experience. That it turns out that there was a girl in the class whose mom worked with my dad and said, "Oh, that's a girl. It's a Ms." Because no one knew of Mix at that time in the world.
Wow. Alex, yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of opening up our minds, I think we should open up our minds to a different subject and the topics that our callers would want to see.
Well, we have a caller waiting.
I know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I heard the phone ring.
If you finish talking, we'll take the call. Are you finished? All right.
I am.
All right, caller, we're sorry for that delay. Good evening. You're on Off the Hook Overtime. Go ahead.
Yes, no problem, Emmanuel. I just wanted to...
It is so good to hear your voice again, Rebel. I just thank you for calling.
Yes, Merry Christmas, by the way.
Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. And soon Happy Kwanzaa. And then there's New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And don't forget Boxing Day. Tomorrow's Boxing Day, too. Do you know what to do on Boxing Day? Well, it's in Canada, it's in England, and in various places. But I intend to bring it here. That's where you go and you find somebody who's annoyed you and you box them right in the face. Did I have it wrong?
Anyway,
No, that's correct.
You're talking about schools. Remember the pandemic when all the kids had to learn online and be at home, and then they had to graduate like all remotely and all that. What a kind of experience are those kids going to have when they get all
That's
that
interesting
online?
because, these people that are pushing for this kind of instruction, not take them away from the liberal schools and teach them at home. Well, that's what you had during the pandemic, and you all didn't seem to like that very much. So, yeah, interesting. Good point there, Rebel. See, it happens.
Okay. Now we'll change the subject because you wanted to change the subject.
Well, Alex did,
Hold
but
on.
I guess we'll change
Okay,
the subject.
okay.
Sure.
Hold on. Oh,
Wait, how is that changing the subject? You're putting us on hold?
oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Can we go back to the previous topic that we were discussing?
Walked right into this, Alex. We walked
Wait,
right
wait a
into
minute.
it.
I'm gonna put
I know,
put the number
I
in the
know.
chat. I'm gonna
Rebel,
put the number in the chat.
you used to tell us what
Yeah.
you were connecting us to. Now you just tell us to hold on and connect us to something, and you don't explain it. You see how that could be frustrating? He put us on hold,
Okay,
didn't he? Stop saying the same thing.
because I have the numbers written down, not written down, but in my text thing, and I don't remember what they do. And I can,
Wait, you're
I
calling
haven't
numbers
spoken
and
to
you
them.
don't know what they do, and you're just making us go
Well, no,
along
I
for
know
the
what
ride?
they do. I know what they do. I know what they do. I just haven't called them in a while because we haven't been on the air in a while. So I think this is the one that that's something. I don't know.
Why don't you test them before you call us?
I do. I just hold on. I'll test it now. Hold on.
Wow.
Hold on.
It's both disturbing and scary. You don't know what's going to happen.
Hold on.
Your party's extension, please press it now. This is an important reminder from
Linda Miller with Client Services.
Please listen
Oh,
to the
it's
following
that.
message.
Hi, this is Linda Miller. I know we've reached out previously about...
No,
Oh, I wanted to hear what she had to say. Oh, boy.
Oh, she had to say something about are you do you owe money on your taxes, and how we can help you if you owe $10,000 or more, which I don't. Sorry, this one. Let's see. Hello, welcome. I do not housing. No.
Rebel, I'm giving you 30 seconds to come up with something interesting.
Okay, no, there's no more numbers to call.
Wait, whoa,
so,
hold on. You said there are no more numbers to call, so that means that we're finished.
No, that doesn't mean that we're finished. Let's see.
Sure sounds that way.
Let's see what else.
Yeah, you see.
I
this,
have Linux. I still have the computer that I want to get rid of. Oh, by the way, Hope is this year. You forgot to tell the folks.
Well, not this year. There's only 1 week left in this year. We'd have to really scramble.
No, I
No,
mean, this
but
June,
you
or
do
just-
raise a
just
good
August.
point. Yes, we haven't mentioned this yet, but Hope is now an annual convention, meaning it'll happen every year.
Right.
That
I got the email.
you didn't hear anything because everybody was cheering at once and it blew out all the sound.
Well, you forgot to mention it on the radio.
Well, yeah, there's so
You'll
much to
mention it
talk
next
about. There's a
week.
lot to talk about. We don't always get to everything, and it's not all about talking about us. But people are finding out about it. We sent out a huge announcement, and it's getting out there, and we depend on people to spread the word. So, Hope is taking place next August at St. John's. It's going to be awesome.
You know what I want my cell phone to do?
And we're off to a different subject. Go ahead.
When you call my cell phone, when somebody calls my cell
That
phone,
will never
there used to
happen.
when somebody calls my cell phone, instead, they used to have the service where they could play music. Like when you call somebody and say, please listen to this music while your party is answered, while your party is waiting. Oh, that's the other thing. Oh, that's what I wanted to call. I'll call this after I explain this. You used to be able to select a song that would play while it was like ringing your cell phone. They don't do it anymore, but I was wanting to not have a song, but like an old analog, like step ring or crossbar ring while my phone was ringing.
You want to play a recording of an old step ring while your phone is ringing. I want to do that too.
Yeah.
When rings
Yeah,
used to sound different.
Right. I mean, I like to make it so that you can't choose what sound the other party hears. It's just, I think you have to keep them there list.
Mm-hmm.
choose
Rebel, we're down to our last minute, unfortunately. I have no
Okay.
control over this.
Did you know that when you call a wrong number now, it doesn't say, it give you a recording saying the number you have reached has been disconnected or whatever. It now gives you a recording saying the number you have. I think it's only business lines that have this. The number you have reached is not a working number. However, we can help you find another business in the area.
Interesting.
I'll play this for you.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't have a number. Otherwise, I call it. Let me just think of-
Well, Rebel, for next time,
Maybe
have
by
your
next
numbers
week I'll
prepared.
have.
Yes, next week. Let's look
Yeah,
forward to next week.
we'll,
on New Year's Eve. That'll be a fun way to spend
New
the
Year's
holiday.
Day.
Yeah.
No, New Year's Day.
Oh, yeah, you're
December
right. New
30th.
Year's Day. Yes, New Year's Day is wow. Okay, well then we look forward to that. Thank you for your call, and good to hear from you as always. That was Rebel there. Our phone number remains 802-3214-225. You know, you guys all remember this. We used to call a number, what Rebel was talking about, and you would hear a recording saying the number you have reached, and then it would give you the phone number. And I haven't heard that recording in ages. I don't think they have that anymore. I don't know why they can't do that. But yeah, it was there were two different recordings. Two different women had recordings that would say the number you were calling, and there'd be all sorts of conditions. That number has been disconnected. That number has been changed. The new number is, and they'd give you the new number, or they'd say that number has been changed to an unpublished number. All kinds of options, and it was kind of cool calling them. All right, but now we are going to take another phone call. Good evening. You're on Off the Hook Overtime. Go ahead.
Hey, it's Johnny Fusion. Happy holidays, everyone.
Johnny Fusion, we haven't heard from you in a while. How are you doing?
Had some difficult health stuff, but got through it.
Yeah, that's good.
So,
I'm glad you got through it.
yeah.
Too bad you had to go through it.
Well, it involved treatment twice a week at my transplant center for the past month, so it's taken up a lot of time.
Wow. Well, it's good to hear from you.
Yeah, I just, and I usually sit on getting my compensation for the articles just because life gets past me, and I recently went and arranged it, and the package arrived yesterday, I guess, when I got it today. So it's like I got a bunch of hacker stuff for Christmas.
Well, that's good. Yeah, so when you write an article, you get a shirt, you get other things if you ask for them. And that's for people who want to write articles about the hacker world for 2600.
Yeah, but I know you beat it to death, but I want to go back to these AI schools because I did see a story this week about a video story, and it's not really how you've been portraying it.
Okay.
It is at a campus. It is a full day of school. The 2 hours instruction is basically just the general ed stuff, like English and arithmetic and those kind of subjects that you get in general education. But the rest of the day is more like project-based learning.
Okay.
You know, where it's kind of like how in Montessori, how kids kind of drive it, but it has a real tech focus.
Right.
Like they showed kids setting up and flying drones. I mean, to get into something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this other student would learn to make an app. So she made a phone app. And it's an AI phone app that gives dating advice, but they did it. This other group of kids, as a learning project and to make money, run a little Airbnb.
Okay.
So they're learning skills outside of the AI teachers with what they call guides.
Are they interacting with other kids? Are they,
Yes, the
okay.
kids are doing it together.
Well, that's good. That's
and
what it should be.
And there's like physical stuff to do. Like I saw like a rock climbing wall at one of these schools, and other equipment for the younger kids to play on.
Mm-hmm.
So there's physical activity if they want it. But it seems to be more set up like a makerspace or like Y Combinator.
Something like that.
Like that.
That's a makerspace environment. That's about as healthy as you can get. And that I think is ideal for kids learning. It reminds me of the Maker Fairs, especially the World Maker Fair in Queens that we used to have, and now the one in Coney Island, where kids show up and they're learning and they're enthusiastic about learning, and if anyone's teaching, it's them teaching their parents how things work. That kind of environment is super positive. And I think our point is that you can't replicate that without the human interaction. So, if you have people that are there to show them how to do things properly, and answer any questions they have, that is a learning environment that should be encouraged.
Right, and the AI stuff got the press because of the whole AI moral panic going on right now, and how AI is being put into everything. But these are specific educational programs, to teach math, to teach writing, to teach English grammar, the basics, the academics and stuff, apart from the project-based learning. And what the AI does is it adapts, because it presents a lesson and it quizzes you, and depending on what you get right and wrong, it follows up on the stuff you may need help on that you're not getting and stuff like that. And that's kind of how it's designed. It's designed as educational software that's using this AI element. Like I don't know. Like I said, this is just basically like news reporting. But this is what I can get from it. And I went to an alternative high school. When I was in high school, I was one of those kids that the public school system failed to. Not necessarily basically because I was autistic, undiagnosed, and I just didn't learn like the other kids, like the bureaucratic, rote memory, very structured learning environment was not conducive to my education. So I needed something a little bit more of my own set pace where I could pursue my own interests, and that's where I really got into computers and started hacking was in high school.
Hey, Johnny, Alex has something to chime in with. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to jump in on you there, Johnny. I'm very glad to hear your voice again. Sorry to hear that
Alex, your microphone again.
Oh,
please get a new one.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, I don't even know what you heard me say there, but in any event, great to hear from you, Johnny. Sorry to hear about the health difficulties, and sorry to jump in on you there, but I wanted to chime in while we're on the subject of human interaction, because my guests for the evening have arrived upstairs, so I need to go and have some.
Hold on, you didn't tell us about this. You have guests coming?
Yeah, we have. I mentioned it at the beginning of the show through the chat, but it probably wasn't seen. But yeah, we have some guests over this evening here in Pennsylvania. It being Christmas and all, neighbors and things, so we're going to engage in some Saturnalia.
And because we're in New York, we don't count as guests. I get it. No, I understand. I see how it is.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I could just bring a laptop upstairs, I guess, and make it into a big party.
Some kind of a holiday or something. All right, fine.
Yeah.
Enjoy the
Well,
festivities there.
I do want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah to everybody. Thanks everyone for listening, for making this a wonderful year. I'll see you all on New Year's Day.
And Happy Boxing Day and Happy Kwanzaa to you.
Yes, indeed. Happy Boxing Day.
Yes.
Hope everyone knows.
Take care, Alex. Well, that was a surprise, which I didn't know about because I'm not part of a chat when I'm doing radio. But that's just how it is. Johnny, you may continue with your thoughts now that Alex is no longer with us.
Oh, yeah. With project-based learning is kind of a new thing. The reason why I know about it is because my kids, Little Fusion Jr., they were struggling in school. They had IEPs. My kid was autistic. Both their parents were autistic, so we had an autistic kid. And once they got to the project-based learning, they thrived. And originally they said, well, let's just work for a certificate. We don't think you're going to be able to graduate high school. And they did graduate high school.
Wow.
And it was a proud moment because the education system kind of wanted to give up on my kids.
I hear that a lot. I hear horror stories. And that doesn't mean you throw out the whole system. It means you work hard to improve it and take it seriously and stop cutting the funding and just basically make it the priority. It should be the most important thing we have.
Right, I agree. So I'm a strong supporter of public education. Right, I don't like what the Voss tried to do and what the next administration is going to do by privatizing everything. Public school is important, but I do think it needs to be reformed and to be moved into the 21st century, basically.
No argument there. Yeah, I think kids need to feel safe in schools, that they are, able to seek out and learn about the things they're curious about, and want to research and basically not just be constricted to something that their parents demand that they only be exposed to. That's not reality. That's just a way to to shape somebody and prevent them from blossoming and becoming their own person.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. I recently was reading about the origins of the public school system in America, and fundamentally it's based on this German military academy style where they value conformity and rote learning over creativity and self-driven things. And in order to make someone compliant and a good worker, and this is 19th century educational theory,
right,
that still is influencing how we see schooling today. And I really do think we need a revolution in education with modern educational theory and pedagogy and teaching for the 21st century, because we're not, we're, especially with more and more things being automated, we don't need to be educating for a labor force necessarily to keep the wheels of capitalism going, but for ways to contribute to society in other ways other than just busy work that's going to be done by robots in another 20, 30 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the conversations we have now are key in just what it is that develops, that happens in the future.
Right, and when it comes to automation of things, I think the companies that are driving this automation, I think they should be taxed. There should be a special tax for these companies that are automating jobs,
mm-hmm.
and that tax goes into funds for universal basic income for those whose jobs have been replaced, basically.
What you say though about conformity and schools and things like that, it reminds me of this song by the folk singer Harry Chapin called "Flowers Are Red," and I just want to read you something from Wikipedia about that particular song, because I've played it before. It really strikes me as what we're talking about here. It tells the story of a little boy who, on the first day of school, started drawing pictures of flowers using many different colors. Now, the teacher got angry, and she told him that he should not be coloring because it's not time for art. And in any case, the boy is coloring the flowers all wrong, and that he should paint them red and green the way they always have been seen. The boy disagrees and continues to color them from his imagination until the teacher punishes him by standing him in a corner. Finally, the now terrified little boy gives in and tells the teacher that flowers are red, green leaves are green. Years later, he moves towns and attends a different school. A new teacher encourages her students to use all sorts of colors, only to find the student only coloring his flowers red and green. When the new teacher asks why, he meekly responds by quoting his previous teacher, "Flowers are red and green leaves are green." And that just, to me, it shows how you can so easily crush the spirit of a kid at that vulnerable age when you're supposed to be encouraging that spirit to flourish. And this is true of teachers, and it's certainly true of parents. And it's something that we need as many ways to prevent as possible. And I think, having a kid in different environments is a great way to not have any one of those environments do something like this, where you stifle creativity or crush spirits.
I agree. I used to teach young kids. I used to be an Aikido teacher, and I taught the youngest kids program, which all the other teachers thought was the hardest one, but it came naturally to me. I think because I see children as fully realized human beings, just inexperienced, with entire internal landscapes and stuff, because I remember being that age. And, I'm still that same person in many ways.
That's true. That's true.
And one of the techniques that I use is to allow children they're guided, but they also get to lead a little bit. Like one example, like you really don't want to give them the answers. You want them to figure out the answers, right? And so like around Christmas time, we have a lot of little kids saying, how does Santa get to all the houses in one night? How does he get all the way around the world? And instead of trying to bullshit your way through it, what you do is you tell the kid, well, what do you think? How do you think it happens? And 98 times out of 100, they'll come up with something creative out of their own imagination that satisfies them that as an adult, you never would have even considered.
It's true. And that conversation, that's just something that will stay with a kid for the rest of his life. And it's those special moments. Hey, Johnny, we're going to move on, but thanks so much for your call. I'm glad to hear you're doing better. And please stay in touch and write some more articles for us.
I'm working on it. I wrote an article, but I published it to Medium under my real name this week. But it wasn't appropriate for 2600. It was about politics and Doge and how Doge wants me dead, basically.
Okay. Well, we could probably find a way to make that subject matter work. But, whatever you're comfortable with printing, just be sure to submit that to us.
I'm sure a few things are percolating. I'm sure it'll result in an article or two.
Great. All right. Again, good hearing from you, and stay in touch.
Merry Christmas.
You too. And anyone out there interested in writing articles for 2600, the email address is articles@2600.com, or just go to the 2600.com website and explore. You'll find under the magazine section our guidelines, and anybody can write. If you go to school and learn how to write, yeah. So use those skills and be immortalized by having your thoughts on technology, privacy, hacking, whatever, printed in a printed magazine and digital as well. 802-321-4225 is our phone number. We have time, I think, for one more call. Does that sound good?
And while we're waiting for that call, I think all our discussions this evening have, just illustrated that if you've got kids in your life, your own kids in your family, kids in your neighborhood, whatever kids you interact with, there's a lot of value in listening to them, speaking with them, helping them learn things, supporting them, letting them be kids, letting them be weird, but being a human being in their life, just giving some sort of positive relationship and energy counts for a hell of a lot.
Well said. Absolutely.
I just realized I've never even tried to write an article for the magazine.
Kyle.
Yeah.
Wait, I just assumed. I wonder who that is that we are printing. Okay. We can talk about this later.
No, I just really I was hearing all these other discussions about it. I I actually thought about it. I hadn't really realized that.
I wonder how many other people out there are realizing the same thing right now, that they've never actually written an article for 2600.
And the more I think about it, the more ashamed I am.
Wow. You can avoid that shame by quickly writing your article now. Carefully writing your article, but making it a good article and sending to us. Gila, please.
We do have a note in the chat from frequent caller, listener, commenter, who says, right, I need a topic.
Well, okay, we can't write the article for you. It's got to be something you're interested in. It's got to be something that you've played with technology-wise. It's got to have you in it. And please, don't try and use AI to write your article. Please don't do that, because if we discover that you have done that, we will never trust you again. And it doesn't have the human touch. It doesn't have your uniqueness. It's what we're all saying here, and you won't feel like you did anything. That's for damn sure. Whereas if you create something and it gets printed and you read it in the magazine, there's no better feeling than that. It really isn't. And Kyle, I think you'll experience that someday soon, I hope.
Yeah, and if you do get something by, I mean, how do you answer why you wrote anything that is in it,
Mm-hmm.
How do you talk about your writing if you didn't write it?
Yeah, you have to write something to be able to talk about. Yeah, absolutely.
But after the fact, like if you're, asked about it or you're proud of it in some way, isn't that setting you up for opportunities to be found out to be a total fraud?
People are reading articles that were printed 35 years ago in our magazine and reading them because they're still interesting and talking about them. And that to me is incredible. Rob, go ahead.
Yeah, I think on the subject of what to write about, it's like I think it's like the vibe at the conference with submitting talks and things. No one can give you the subject because everyone's got the things they want to talk about within them, and everyone in the hacker community, everyone with sort of a hacker vibe to them, has something hackery that they in particular want to talk about, want to write about, want to share with the world. And that's the perspective that's needed in an article. So, you've got the topics. You can mull over what it is that's knocking around in your head and see what's something that you don't see written about, that you would like to see written about, and that you feel like writing about.
And, we give everybody a chance. You could be a 13-year-old. You could be a college professor. You could be a corporate executive. If you have something to say that's relevant to the audience, and many things that touch upon technology are, please send it to us. Same thing for Talks at Hope. We want to hear your perspective. And, just think about the hacker perspective, which is constantly questioning and experimenting, occasionally breaking, but always sharing the information and the results of our experiments. That's what it's all about. That's probably why you're listening now.
Yeah, I think it's important to get past those hurdles, or it is itself a learning experience. I'm still kind of, I think, in the midst of that, I guess, as I think the biggest barrier has always been I'm not qualified, or I don't have expertise. And a lot of what I wanted to get out of reading and being around people that were enthusiastic about technology and hacking, I wanted to learn more and be exposed to it. And I think to make that leap and be confident that you actually have something to offer, that you actually, you could be listened to, or even if there's questions about what you're saying, like that, what your experience has been, will stand up to that. And I think I'm starting to become, I've seen enough to have a particular sort of perspective that I often don't get to share and isn't really heard. And I just hope people remember that it's permanent. Like, you getting the ideas out of your head, it makes it portable. And I don't mean to put it into computer terms, but you're making your ideas portable in putting them to words, and sharing those ideas widely in a human and now, I guess, machine readable format that is print is wildly important, because you may end up with some real concrete observations and a lot of experience, and no one knows because you haven't made it portable, you haven't shared it, and that ultimately can end up being really frustrating. And then, like, you know, people say what's wrong when you're running around like the Tasmanian devil or something. So
You know, you used the C word at one point. We have an Alexa device, and you can rename them so that you can say Alexa and it won't respond. But if you say computer, and it hears you say that, it reacts. And when you said that word, it reacted from the other side of a different room, and I can see it from here, and it has a blue light now that's on. So I think it's listening to everything we say now, and that's scary. That's scaring the crap out of me right now. You got to be careful. You got to be careful what you say around these things. But what Kyle did say was important and relevant, and something I think anybody who has written anything has pondered. You know, and when you do write something, you've written it. You know, even if it needs work, you've written it. You've done something, and there's a good chance that it'll be of interest to others, and that does change your perspective on many, many things. Gila.
From the chat, a user named Rob Vincent said,
he's sitting right next to you.
Yeah, I know, but it's really good.
Oh, sure, dox me.
Why can't you just say it? Okay, go ahead.
Think of what you would want to read about and write it for the readers who might gain something by reading it.
Well, the context is important here because our listener wrote, I haven't got a subject that others would want to read about. And responding to that, yeah, think about what you would want to read about if it existed out there, and write it for folks like you. And I, as somebody who's been putting work out on the internet for a generation and then some, a lot of the most successful projects and things that I've written and made and done were things that I was looking for at some point and didn't exist. And I thought, well, I could do it and put it out there, and I did, and it worked. So yeah, it's like that with articles. Like if there's something you think someone should be writing about this, it could be you.
Yeah, and like just the anecdotal stuff it matters too. Like if it's not super technical, it could be an observation or like cultural thing. I don't excuse me. I don't want to like get too deep, but we're trying to make ideas around hacking approachable to people, and the way that you articulate it might actually be a better way of understanding. It might help someone else learn or be confident about learning more, and telling stories around it, or trying to shed some light on your experience in this world and in proximity to the people and the ideas around it, can, I don't know, have an impact. And I don't know, it may not be the right audience. Like in my case, like most of what I am learning is actually better suited for other audiences, like about technology or about my proximity to this world and understanding of it. Like it's based on what limited bit of computing or technology I've seen, and even the hacker world. It's a big, huge, expansive subject matter, and a lot of different ideas and a lot of different people are involved. So like I have a hard time. It can be daunting to try to be confident enough to have that like expert opinion on it, but you can be an expert on your own experience of it as it stands, and no one like needs to have technical information about your feelings of what that experience has been. And again, like consider the audience. Maybe some of your ideas are better in other places, but they still relate to the people and the places and the things that have gone on over the years in hacking. That's where I'm coming from.
And you're the only one that has had your experience, so keep that in mind when you do write something. Do we have a caller on the line?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's get that caller. It's probably the last call of the night. Good evening. You're on Off the Hook Overtime. Go ahead. Speak up. Are you there? I think they fell asleep. I don't blame them. They're on hold. All right, let's open up the phone lines one more time. Hold can be a place where, people just drift off into dreamland. 802-321-4225. We have a couple of minutes left, so if anybody out there or the previous caller, by all means call us, and we will take your call. Gila, looks like you have something to say.
Well, I do. And it's sort of mildly related to the discussion, especially about articles and stuff. I think, okay, this has been stuck in my head all day. This is a Hanukkah song, a lesser known Hanukkah song. And it's called Banu Choshech Legaresh, which means we come to dispel the darkness. And the words are, we come to dispel the darkness. We have light and fire in our hands. Each of us is a small light, and together we're a large, strong light. And I like that theory. I like that idea because everybody's got something to contribute. And we talk about that a lot when it comes to hope. We talk about that a lot when it comes to, do you want to give a talk at Hope? Do you want to write an article for the magazine? Everybody's got something to share. And the thing that's rattling around in your head that you can give voice to, if it's here, if it's publicly, magazine, Hope, World, Internet, Mastodon, I don't know. But wherever it is that you let those pieces of yourself out and let other people hear what's in your head, amazing things can happen in those places.
Yeah, the light shines brighter. It's a gigantic patchwork quilt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good thoughts. All right, we have another phone call. Good evening. You're on Off the Hook Overtime. Go ahead. I was listening to that, Kyle. All right, you know what? 1 minute left, and if we get a phone call, we'll take it. If we don't get a phone call, we'll say goodnight. It's not a big deal. 802-321-4225 as we have our final moments here. Our last show of the year, by the way. Yeah. All right. And we have a phone call coming in. And good evening. You're on Off the Hook Overtime. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to ask a general question. Hope is going to be next year now? I mean, this year again?
Yep. Well, not this year, because this year has 1 week left. But next year, yes. In mid-August of next year in St. John's University, same place. The last one was really, really good. And the last one was something that I don't think we ever had a smoother conference. And so many people have been asking us for years, why don't you do this every year? And the reason has always been because it kills us to do this once every 2 years. But using a place that already has working technology and a supportive staff, that has made a huge difference. So I really think we can manage it now. We're at the stage after 30 years of doing this, of making it an annual event. So hopefully it'll be as popular, and we will make this a thing.
Yeah, because I missed this year's conference, and I was thinking, gee, I'm not going to be able to do this again for 2 years. So I'm glad it's happening again in about in 6 months, I guess, roughly.
Yeah, keep checking the hope.net website. I know tickets are going to go on sale in January, and the call for speakers and participation is also going to open then as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
All right, take care. Look forward to seeing you there. And that's going to do it for us tonight. So our last show of 2024. Glad to see it go, not the show, the year. And next time we will be in 2025, the first day of 2025. And again, we will be talking about things we wish for 2025. If you have ideas out there, write to us, oth@2600.com. We'll also be talking about some of the more significant developments of 2024. That'll be our New Year's show a week from now. So good night, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kyle. Your microphone was off. Say that again.
Well, I was just gonna say bye in like an honorary way.
Yeah, no, you did that. You got that.
Hold on. Bye.
Well, that was a little bit louder, but okay. Gila, Rob, do you want to say goodbye in a special way?
I'll say goodbye in a friendly way. Bye.
And I'll say goodbye in a sarcastic way. Bye.
Wow. I don't know what to say. Good night, everyone.